Good morning.
Hello, Swati. Have we met earlier? Are Bhavani, where are your curls? Oh my God. It's so hot in Mumbai.
No, I tend to do this. I grow my hair for a year or two, and then I go short so that it's zero attention.
Acha. How's your writing coming along?
Good. I have a project that is keeping me a personal thing that is keeping me very engaged. So I have a submission by 10th of April.
Okay.
And if I get it, then I get a free retreat, whatever, writing
Wow.
30 days. Which chances are very low, but still, at least it's keeping me engaged and I'm writing and all
You
of that.
can never say that, Bhavani. You can never say.
Yeah, I think other people will always say you can never say. The person who's doing it will be like, nah, I'm not gonna get
It's
it.
always like
But
that.
still, it's okay.
Yeah. Do you know about Huma Qureshi
Yeah,
in the UK?
UK. Oh,
Not the actress.
oh no, I don't know about Huma Qureshi.
Oh, she does a lot of these writing programs. Maybe I'll send you her link and you can just read her letters. Very interesting.
Nice.
So all excited. I think I haven't met Sai. Hi.
Hi.
You joined last
Started
year?
in February.
Sorry?
I started in February.
Acha, acha. Okay, okay. Hi, Aditi.
Hi, Neeta. Nice to have you back.
Yes.
Today Elaine is missing.
Yeah, her car has conked off. I mean, said goodbye finally.
Oh, okay.
Telling her to change the car, but she was so in love with her car that she didn't want to. But then I think yesterday or on Sunday just kind of said final goodbye.
Oh my God, that is so sad. I get attached to the silliest of things.
Yeah.
I get attached to my watering can in the garden and things like that also.
Yes, yes. Yeah. Oh my God, today's pictures are like so beautiful and very challenging for me.
Good. What was the last travel art you did, Neeta? Do you remember?
Last year we had done, I don't remember. Yes, there was not Turkey, but I remember that blue building. I don't have my old book. And we had done food, Greek food, and yeah, we had done Greece actually.
We did Greece. We
Greece,
did.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Okay, so I think we can begin. Nobody else missing. All right. So this month is all travel. And to give you an idea, this is almost like in preparation of making travel art, assuming that sometime this month or next month people will be traveling. So I want to create, almost simulate a travel journal, which we will try to fill up in the next 4 classes. Usually, when you're traveling, as much as we would like to be, I mean, we have a nice romantic idea of sitting somewhere and sketching and all. When you're at the location and you have everything, it is very intimidating. You don't know where to begin. You don't know what part of what building you should take on, how long it's going to take. And that is just one part of it. Second is you are so afraid of goofing up, and that there are people around who will be watching you. So, how embarrassing it can potentially be. And all of this will paralyze you, and you will just say, you know what, forget it. I'll just take a picture and I'll go home and do it. And that never happens. You will never ever do that again, because the moment you're home, even if you're on a holiday and you're back home to wherever you're staying, there is another thing that you have to do. So it's nearly impossible for you to document it unless you at least make an attempt to begin right there when you are there. So over the years, I have developed a certain strategy for myself, which I want to just share with you. And through these classes, we will use that strategy to make a few images within a certain time limit. And then I will also, since we are in class, I will be able to show you how to finish it as well. But that time limit is quite important. So since we are all still going to be traveling with family and friends, and unless you come for a retreat with me next time, when all the people who are there are just going to be illustrating, you are going to be one of a minority who wants to sit and illustrate while everyone else is saying 20 minutes we have to wait here, how long do we have to wait over here, and we want to go eat or we want to go to the next place. So you have a very small window to do what you need to do when you're traveling with family and friends. And I have arrived at a number of 20 minutes being the optimal time. 20 minutes goes quite easy. Even 25 minutes can sometimes be a little too much to ask of your troupe. So I'm going to show you how you can at least make these illustrations in 20 minutes to start with. You don't have to finish them, but you have to at least create some form. And then after those 20 minutes, then you can spend as much time as you need to paint. Some things you can draw and paint in 20 minutes and finish it off. And the others you might take even up to 7 hours. Like I have taken long hours to create some paintings, but they were really, really good for the journal. So we'll go through all of that. What I'm aiming for at the end of this month is that you feel confident to carry a small A5 size journal with you when you are traveling. I will give you tips about how you should look at buildings, at people, at various situations, and almost help you imagine what if you were right there, so that if you substitute the place and you go to another place which has pretty much the same setup, you will not feel out of depth. Okay. All right. So today's topic is very typical. Okay, Amulya has also shared some lovely images. I think you were there last year or the year before that, Amulya. I remember seeing your journal. Very beautiful.
Yeah, I went there 2 years ago, Aditi.
Very nice. So I try to stay away from the typical landmarks because I mean I hate to make an Eiffel Tower for Paris when there are so many things that you can make in Paris. But for Turkey, I still feel that the architecture of Hagia Sophia is just so beautiful, and it instantly makes an impact on the rest of the illustration. So we will attempt this, but I'll show you the stuff that I have shared, and I want to speak a little bit about the different illustrations. So the first picture that I have shared looks like a photograph. Now in this day and age with all this AI thing happening, I can never tell whether something is a photograph or whether something is an illustration. They also Photoshop certain things in a certain way that you can't really tell. The second one definitely looks like an illustration, but what I wanted to show you was the effect that it has been created. And I want to attempt this because there are many things that we can achieve with very subtle illustration. You do not have to get into the details of a lot of things. And this one I feel is a completely computer generated image. And sometimes these are good. I wouldn't reject them outright because, oh, there are real looking people over here. So again, I can't tell. There are certain details that images that are AI generated can show, which might be difficult or obscured by in photographs. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, sorry. Right, so we will attempt this, and the next image that I have shared with you is an image of, I believe this is a mosaic portrait of Constantine himself, um, who was the emperor who commissioned the Hagia Sophia in, I think, 360, 340 AD. So this is something very amazing about Byzantine art, and that is the use of mosaic tiles to create very intricate artwork like this. So all these are tiles in different colors which have been placed very methodically to create patterns and texture all in one. So we'll try to make something like this, but I am not going to make you paint one tile at a time, so don't worry about that. I don't think I will do that also. It's too time consuming. Okay, to start with, we are going to simulate an A5 journal by folding our paper, A4 paper in half. I'm going to show you how we can do that. While it's nice to make one big illustration like this, which we have made in the past, I want you to see how space changes the moment you start imagining a book. Now, if there is someone who is working in a book, you can use a book for this. But for those of you who aren't, I want you to start seeing limited space to make your illustration. If we see the entire A4 size and we try to illustrate in that, this will look different. We have lots of space. But here, because of the folds and because of the margins, our space crunches down into so much only. Right, now to begin with, let's understand the whole structure of the building. Whenever you are faced with drawing buildings, you will feel the 3D effect of buildings staring at you, and you wonder, how am I going to manage this? It's so crowded, and where are the lines going, and how do I manage perspective? So break all this down first into just horizontal lines. So the first thing you can do is to start marking horizontal lines of all or as many elements you see. We have these 4 buildings at the bottom. Then we have a rooftop. Then we have the tops of trees. So there is a gap between the lower building and the building above. And then we have the buildings above. So ideally, you just mark these areas and you can visually then space out the lines according to certain points in the illustration. I do a lot of work just with a visual margin, but for your sake, I will break this up into something like squares. Yeah, we can make it this big. So I'll share that image as well. Now, if we were to use a square format, so from the tallest minaret on the left to the minaret on the right, if we make a square, then how does the building divide? The pink lines are going to be at the half mark. They're going to divide the square into half vertically and horizontally. And this way now we just get a very simple grid. Now, these grids are very easy to make when we are working with a photograph. But when you are out on the field, there are no grids. Then you'll be tempted to click a picture and make a grid. That's perfectly okay, by the way. But it is still nice to try to make these pictures without a grid by just seeing certain shapes. So this is the other way, and we are going to be able to make the illustration using both these. So we are not going to make a building as if that building is or this drawing is going to be used to make that building. So the amount of detail we will have will be very little. But let's say day one of travel in Turkey, we land up in this place, we have a brand new book. How do we start illustrating? So with buildings and with large monuments, it's usually good to situate them somewhere in the center, because then it'll allow you to use up the corner spaces for some other small elements and fill up your page. If you make the building somewhere over here, and especially very small, you are diminishing its significance in that country or in the travel route itself. So we want to keep it in the center. Now there is going to be a spine, so part of your illustration may not be easy to draw over here. So instead of center, we just move it a little to the right, because the right side page gets more attention. The left side page you can do your writing or making the smaller illustration. So we will probably make the mural of Constantine somewhere over here, and we will make the Hagia Sophia somewhere over here. Now going by the first illustration, first set of lines, which I haven't shared yet, sorry. So if you see the first set of lines, and if this is how tall we want to make, the second set where we have the square. So we can fit our entire monument in a square. So you can make this square that bleeds a little bit onto the left. And mostly on the right. So we get an idea of how big our picture is going to be. Now let's divide this in half. So I want to do the grid method first, so that you become comfortable in seeing all the different elements, even at least in a photograph. I have divided my square into 4 parts, vertically and horizontally, but the right side I am also going to divide it into half further, because that is where one minaret will stand. Now I will use the technique from the first picture of guides, but make it within this grid. So I'm going to make a horizontal line for the base of the dome. Then the building on which the dome sits, which seems to be, the base of the dome is somewhere here in the second row. Going all the way to very close to the line on the last line on the right. Then you have another dome which starts a little to the left of center. No, sorry, you have a line that comes down this way. Can I use a pen for this? Because otherwise nothing is visible to me only. All right. And I'm also going to name these lines 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And A, B, C, D, E. The lines have been given these details. Because it's becoming very difficult for me to explain. Okay, now I want you to see what kind of lines I'm making. I'm not going to make very careful lines here. So just below line B, I am drawing a curve for the dome. It extends a little right of line 2, that's a vertical line, and goes towards line 4. Above that, I will make another small line just still below line B. And then on line 3 is the top of the dome, from where I will draw two curved lines. Now I am making multiple lines for a reason. These lines will come handy. If there are any of you who want to attempt this with a pen, I would encourage you to do that. We have to finish this drawing in 20 minutes. At mid-level between B and C, and a little left of line 2, I'm drawing the structure that comes directly beneath the dome. There are two parallel lines on what looks like the top of a building, which comes down to just above line C. Now remember, we are not seeing the monument head on, it's slightly tilted to the left. So a lot of the center, what we consider center, is actually going to move sideways because the building is going to stagger towards the foreground. That's why the next roof comes a little left of line 3, spreads out in a triangle like this, and a little below the second row you have the end of that roof and the end of that structure. So I'm not making the details. The next roof is tinier and comes a little more to the left and still ends a little above line C. So all of this is really stacked tight. This roof seems to be extending forward. So, you know what happens is that we try to understand the architecture and we try to draw the architecture. But remember, we are only able to discern a little bit of the information. So, if we try to do anything more than we can see from this distance, we start making a very fake illustration, and that is what makes it look amateurish. So we have a roof extending a little to the left, to the right, and then what looks like almost ramparts surrounding this section, where we can make some more vertical lines. And then at some point, just by line C, which is the middle line of the square, you start seeing foliage. So you can start making a silhouette of a very scratchy line like this to mark the trees. When you're making trees, avoid making lines like this. These won't look like trees, they'll look rather silly. So it's almost like let your pencil or pen just do the drawing itself. it will come a little scratchy. You can always go over it and make more shapes and make it denser or change the shape a little bit. That's fine. So now we have a nice base. A little to the right, just around line 4, you have one more blue dome and you have another set of rampart-like structure which has at least 3 lines cutting that surface, and they look quite interesting. To the right of that, or I've extended this a little further than I wanted to, is another blue dome. And then you have the first minaret. So quite interestingly, the base of the first minaret comes up at this point between line 4 and 5 at half mark, the one that we made. And before you make the vertical lines, let's just make the vertical lines. I normally make the connection over here, but we can make the vertical lines. I think that might be easier for you guys. Then we will have what looks like an inverted cup. Extend the same line slightly higher, beyond that cup, halfway up the first square, and then make a very, very narrow top for the minaret. There will be some embellishment on top, which we can just make with a circle. And this is exactly how we proceed to make all the other lines as well. So everywhere you will see some kind of horizontal lines or edges of buildings. You just continue to make them, but keep looking at other stuff that you've made, and in that context, the features of the building should match. Like there are 2 dark terrace edges I see here, and there's 1 dark terrace edge I see here, which follows to the right. This one follows to the right as well, but not the one on top. There is something else happening on the top. Then I'm drawing a very tiny vertical line, again close to the edge of this building, from where something else is cropping up or down. Slightly to the right, something else happening here, not that far. And more extension of the building. It does not have to be 100% accurate. This is not a construction drawing. And now the second minaret, which we'll draw the same way. Now remember, they're not the same proportion. The long vertical section of this minaret stops shorter. Its upturned cup shape is lower, and its height also is less. Isn't it amazing how only when you're drawing these things you notice these details? That is why I feel it's absolutely invaluable illustrating when you're traveling. We just miss out on too many things when we are not illustrating. Now I'm making the third minaret to the left, again going by these same pointers. And before we make the fourth minaret, I will proceed to add more details like a corroborating dome on the left. And look at the line made here by the building, which extends to the left. You'll notice that this line itself extends a little on the left hand side. So does this. So the wall we make here has its companion on the right hand side. Most buildings will be like this. There will be something in the building which will give you markers, pointers, some kind of direction, proportion. You just have to keep your eyes open for that. Okay, the last minaret comes all the way till here. Here again, the inverted cup shape is slightly higher than minaret number 3. And in this way, we have the silhouette. Okay, is everyone with me? I can wait now. So if you're still completing, please take your time. If you have any questions, you can ask me now so I can help you out a little bit. Were you able to see the shapes in the grid the way we made the grid? Is everyone okay with that? Okay.
Yes.
Now, if we want to paint this like the second picture that I have shared with you, we need not even bother with making the rest of the buildings here. So we can make just maybe I like that little like over here we have some trees and then we have these arches. Those look very nice. So halfway along the bottom row of squares, we have these very nice dramatic arches. I love arches. I think I'm just so partial to arches. Even if there aren't any, I might force some arch here or there. So there are 4 arches equidistant. One in the center, one a little right of the middle between 3 and 4, one a little right of 4, and then one at this halfway point. So these arches I made are the outsides, and then I will make the wall, which intrudes a little bit into the space of the arch. By outside, I mean the outside of the arch line. So when making arches, do not make an arch from the bottom left to the top right like that. This is painful. Always break it up. It's easier to draw a curve separate and then draw two vertical lines. Leave a gap if you need to. It's much easier that way. However small your arch is, keep it that way. Now these arches look quite pachak if you don't give it some 3D. So since the building is looking a little towards the left, on the left inside of the arches you can give a double line. Now we can go back to the original picture and finish off part of the building if you want to. So above this you have some structure which you can just draw the roofs of and ignore. So you have something like this, just the silhouette of those buildings. And you can use the grid for this also if you want to. In drawing the silhouettes, you are acknowledging that there is something over there, but you really don't have to bother making it because, the photographer can't help that there is a building over there, but artists can help all of that. You don't have to acknowledge anything that you don't want. And then we draw the base of this wall below. There is a wall over here. You can either draw that or we can draw some, just so that we can draw the water here at the base. So I'm reducing that part as well. Now, if you want to put a boat in the water, check if you have enough space. If you don't have space, don't bother with that. So enough space for me is at least an inch. I hate it when a significant element of your image comes more than or less than a centimeter close to the edge. It is very disturbing to me. I try to keep enough space around. This is like breathing space. Or one arm distance, like when we stand in lines. Like you don't get when you go to a lot of Indian airports and people are at security just touching you from the back, and you have to just tell them we all have our seats. As you can tell, I have done that quite a lot. All right. Once you're comfortable with your illustration, if you're still using pencil, then carefully erase the guide lines, the grid, anything that is running across of our spaces. If there's anything that is in line with the spaces, very few of those things in this picture today, but anything that is not running across the space between your shapes, you don't even have to bother erasing, because those lines can often give more interest and more depth to your pictures. All right, now let's see how the illustration can be painted. While we can of course paint in detail, I want to show you this style of painting where you focus on the silhouette of the
Aditi, just a request. Can we just get 1 minute to complete? I'm lagging behind.
Yes.
Okay.
No
because I'm not able
problem.
to pay attention to your.
All right. No, not a problem.
Aditi, I have a question.
Yes.
So right now we are drawing with a pen, or we have the option of drawing with a pen or a pencil. In case we are using a pencil, it sort of tends to smudge over time, right? Or if you're rubbing your hand against it or anything. Is there a pencil that you recommend that wouldn't do that?
No, I
Or
would
what
say
do you, yeah.
I would recommend that if you are drawing in pencil, you can just put a wash of some color on top of it that somehow seals the graphite in much better. If you otherwise, there is a spray. Not very fond of sprays. That is something you should do for commercial projects in pencil. But try this. Use a regular 2B pencil, and after you've made the drawing, just put a light wash of any, or even just water, and then just check in a corner if when you erase that line is getting erased at all.
Okay.
Because I have faced this several times. I've made a wash, forgotten to erase some lines, and then go back and try erasing, and then you feel very frustrated that the line is just not moving. So I figured that maybe that's a solution to seal the graphite onto paper then, instead of being frustrated by it.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, there are more details we can furnish in this if you want to. This is the bare minimum we need, but there is something very characteristic about the dome. There are these little indent-like structures. They're possibly windows, I don't know. So you can make some of those in the illustration, starting maybe from the center. So this is what I normally do. Start from the center and then just distribute them equally or at equal distances in the center. But as you go to the side, reduce the size and the distance between these structures so that you create again the illusion of a circular building. So most of these will be pretty much the same. And as I come to the side now, I will start reducing their size. It's a very tiny illusion. Then of course we have this square glass dome. Now here we might be tempted to make a lot of lines, and that's perfectly okay if you are comfortable and confident that your lines are going to add to the picture and not distract. When making anything like squares, you have to be very careful. Square or intersecting lines usually don't look very appealing. So you can create that illusion by just making the square part in a few sections like that and break the line a little bit. So it's not visible everywhere, but it's not as if you have ignored that part of the dome. Now, wherever you can see other cavities, you can make that. All these are additional bits. For the silhouette painting, we don't really need to do any of that. But I love to make all these things because there's so much you notice about buildings. Like I remember making some pictures of a building where while everything looks symmetrical, some places there was no symmetry. Like one window was higher or lower, and that was by design. It was a fake window. I can't remember where it was, but I thought, wow, that's so cool that you'd get to notice so many things which otherwise you just don't. So after you make that initial illustration of the silhouette part, now you can start adding more and more detail. Okay, Bhavani, are you done? Okay, so these details we can also make afterwards. I just want us to study the coloring over here. All right. So we can make a very nice rich wash of orange, an orange sky, and see how there is a beautiful reflection of that orange on the water. That is what we want to create, the glow of the water. And we are going to change our direction because on the left hand side we want to make that mosaic. So we are going to make this effect from the right hand side. So we have a light color wash. Ignore the silhouette of the building now and notice that there is a light color in the center of the sun, from where the wash just spreads out and becomes deeper and deeper. And then in a second layer we will paint the silhouette of the building, and then in a third layer we will paint the trees and the dark parts of the building. That is how we are going to go about it. The colors in the second and the third layer will not necessarily be orange or red. We might shift to blues or greens or things like that, so be prepared for that. Okay, so colors. Let's clean up one section of, at least one section of the palette, because we need to create a whole lot of medium for the wash. Whenever you're making a wash in watercolor, make sure that it is like a wash. It's not like the equivalent probably of difference between having a bath in a sink versus having a bath in a tub. So make sure you have enough room and hydrate all your colors. We don't usually use colors directly. We will be adding some pigments to each other. So we start off with an orange, gamboge, and put in just a hint of scarlet in your orange, because this orange is very in your face. So you want to give it due, but you also want to not make it look too intense. Right, now whenever you're making washes, remember to hold your book at an angle. Our wash is not going to run from edge to edge. Our wash is going to be in only this area. So our edges are going to be like a little weird. Use a nice big fat brush. So if you've got a number 10, 12, use that. And we start off with first just making a slight watered page. To that you will start inserting the golden yellow gamboge, and we are spreading it along the bottom left edge. So increase the amount of pigment as you come lower. So long as the base of your layer is wet, you can take your time in painting, so don't rush. Each not successful layer, our colors intensifying just till we come till the bottom. So now I am adding the color, which is a gamboge orange and scarlet mix. The edges can be made slightly amorphous. And as you're coming to the bottom, we reverse this blend and we move now back to the gamboge. And then just to water, like we started. And once you've painted this, just let it sit. Don't fiddle with this. Don't try to merge this. Don't try to make change your strokes or anything. Just let it sit. If you've missed some places, don't worry. We are going to make a second layer and a third layer. So all of that will be fine. I'm not happy that my right edge has become almost straight. I wish it was a little less, but it's okay. I can always extend my tree line a little further and make it deeper. This thing should be done within just about 2 minutes or 3 minutes, no more than that. If you are still painting after staining everything, you're probably overdoing this.
Aditi, at some point you'll also have to tell us what all we can carry and how.
Yes, I'll tell you.
Thank you.
Actually, I will tell you, but I'm the worst person to tell you because I over carry stuff, too much stuff. But I'm gonna pare it all down. So I'm gonna give you the basic list, which after years of carrying so much weight that my shoulders have killed me, I now know how much I should carry. Okay. Now we don't really have so much space for our poor Constantine, but I have found another mural that might work well for us. And while our layer dries, let's just study this fellow. Alright, so this is a detail and I'm not really sure where it is from. I have looked for some part. I know this is a very, very famous mosaic, but I'll share some information about this particular mural in a bit when I find out some more. So when painting a mosaic, you can either paint bit by bit or you can create the whole picture and then paint these lines in between. So I'm going to do the second part, and we can in fact even reduce the size of the painting so that it fits on our left. So since we have just the face and this halo around the face, we can create our version of this picture. Now I know portraits themselves can be also very intimidating, but we'll just break it up a little bit. Let me break it up over here. Right, so we start off with drawing just a U shape like that. I want you to all just observe this. I'm going to draw this all over again, but this is the procedure. You will follow, you'll make a U, then make that chin. When you've made the U, you can tell where the eyes, how the eyes, nose, eyes and ears are in the same line. Then halfway down the U is the nose, and the same distance up will be the forehead. Extend the U further up to the crown. You have a line running right through the center. Divide each half into 3 parts. You'll see how the eyes figure there. And about the same distance to the side is where the hairline will come. And the same distance as between the eyes and the forehead, you will have the crown. This is good enough. And after this, we can just make all the details. So I'll share this. And hopefully, yes.
Aditi, so when you're out there, are you this mathematical, or do you just sometimes go along with what you're seeing and just do a rough sketch?
I am never this mathematical because simply because I see things a little differently. But I feel that if I were to not show you the mathematical breakup right now, you might get a little confused about how to approach this. So the reason why I see it a certain way and you might not is because I have spent a lot of time in practicing portraits. So when I see an abstract picture like that, I can tell these proportions very easily from having made a lot of portraits with this kind of mathematical precision. I think at some point when we do portraits, I'll show you how, but I'll also show you my portrait book. So I'll tell you, my time pass while other people might watch movies or something, I sit and make portraits while watching movies. So, right, so I think mine has dried just a little bit. It might still be damp. So I'm first going to make a circle here for the halo, because I don't want to make my picture so large that it intrudes into the space of the Hagia Sophia painting. Then in this I have to situate the face. So already I'm going to have to create some kind of very arbitrary lines by just looking at the painting. And then my U will come, the U structure. And I'm not drawing anything beyond this this halo. I would probably make something like that in pencil even when I am on location, because this much is necessary as a guideline so that the rest can be drawn more accurately. But I may not draw the other grid. For now, I am going to do that though. I'm going to make a center line, make 3 parts of this face, making sure that the first line, that's the line on top, is where my crown can come. The second line is where my eyes can come. Third line will be where my nose will come, and the bottom line is where the chin will come. I'll also pay attention to how much space I need to leave from the sides of the head. Then the exact shape of the crown. How far beyond the ears does the crown go? All of that. And once this is in place, I can start making the lines. Now, if I were to draw this in pen, I would only replicate the black lines in pen. I will not make the nose in a dark pen. So we have this. And we can deliberately make these lines a little wobbly because they're all made out of tiles.
Aditi, sorry to interrupt. I've had a little accident. So I
Oh,
used a fountain pen, which I
yeah.
thought had waterproof ink, but it
Oh, okay, okay.
wasn't
Let me
doing
see.
the same thing.
Let me see. Oh no. Wait, I pinned the wrong. Wow, okay. That's looking quite dramatic, very apocalyptic. Not bad. So now you have to stay away from the ink lines.
Yeah. So is it okay if I like just leave it as is, or should I use dry medium to do the building, or just leave it?
I think you can just leave it. Yeah. Because it's quite dramatic the way it's come out.
It looks like the twilight sky.
It
So
does. Yeah. So, uh, do you want to try to paint it? Because you would still get very dramatic effects with the ink running. But it might just become very dark.
yes, yeah, that's what I feared.
Okay. I'll leave it to you. If you want to leave it and just focus on painting the mosaic now, that's fine. If you want to just do like a quick swish of color and then let that ink flow wherever it does, that's fine too, because you then might get to see a very dramatic effect.
I'm afraid all the lines will get smudged if
They
I.
will, they will. But if you use a light color and the lines get smudged, you can come back with the dark ink again and remake some stuff over it. That is definitely an option.
Okay.
This happens quite frequently. You forget what ink you have put.
Put a tape on it or something.
Yeah. So since we have these mosaics, in some places you can also start building those tiles, or just make the edge as if this edge is running over tiny tiles. So we don't make very smooth lines. And the rest of the places, again, you can make just a silhouette if you want. But here now I've noticed often it happens that if we, at least beginner artists, that you see that this has got circles, you land up making circles everywhere in the same density. But it's not that. On the topmost layer, the circles have reduced. The space between those circles is more, and that is important. So don't dismiss these details. Then the colored gems are of different shapes also. Again, that is significant. So I guess maybe I'm just being a nerd about this, but I feel that the a little bit of accuracy in your pictures make them look much better. The trick is in knowing where you should be accurate and where it's okay if you're not. So these are all the dark sections. I have the neck and then I'll make the circle as well. When making these mosaic tiles, avoid making the tiles like this, like a U shape, a square U shape. You know, this looks horrible. If you want to make a mosaic or a brick, complete the line. At least show its intent as being complete. It looks much better. So, by incomplete lines, you can always continue to make this kind of an edge. No problem. But don't build entire squares around um, where the tile should be with those U-shaped, yeah, lazy bricks and lazy tiles. Now, this becomes like carrying home an artifact. You might find that there might be some fridge magnets or cards or something at the same place where you will see this. And if you're anything like me, you want to take everything home, and you've done this before in several tips. You've taken stuff home, probably kept it very safely in a box, decided, okay, I'm going to one day frame this up and all. And in my case, that just doesn't come. I have several boxes of wonderful, absolutely treasures that I have collected from everywhere. But no, I do not have space in my house to put all of this up. And sometimes before I can put stuff up, I'm out somewhere else. So I've just stopped picking up these kinds of souvenirs, but I still want them in my house. So what do? I just start making pictures of that. So I collect pictures of maybe coasters and bars or stickers. Some I stick in the journal, or some I will just make pictures of. Okay, now I'm just going to make this face in pen for now, but using a very thin line. Because the original has got brown lines, that look will change the moment I put a black line here, but that's okay. I'll make it rather thin. When you are drawing these eyes and nose and things like that, focus on the shape that you have to make. Don't look at it as if you are making an eyebrow. Focus on just how the line should be drawn, what angle you should take it at. If you try to draw eyebrows, in most cases, they land up looking very bad. But if you just focus on the curve of the line, you will do a much better job. It's amazing how they have managed in murals from so many hundreds of years ago with such tiny tiles, such detail. Now there's some jewelry. So let's draw that as well. Same thing, draw multiple like bead-like structures. Narrow rectangular shapes. And then you could just erase the guidelines. And in this case, we just need concentric circles around his face. So you can make those circles with dashes so that we can fill in a few mosaic tiles in between. So when you're making these circles, just make sure that they are all actually circles and are connecting on either side of the face to the best of your ability. So if you want to make concentric circles in pencil first and then make these lines, that's also fine. My circle is not sitting right behind his head. It's not center aligned. But it won't matter. If you're interested in mosaics, actually, this is such a beautiful project to take on. You can actually make this using different colored papers, cut to size, and paste it in this form. All right, we have 17 minutes now. So take if it's just the filling that you're doing, then you can do that later. Let's start putting some color into our building. Oh, Jainita has also shared her image, the melting HAGIA Sophia. But look, it looks like a Dali. This is so dramatic. I love it. All right, now let's make a.
The Lamy, actually, the ink.
Yeah, it's writing ink. Okay, now we have to be a little careful. So, in order to make a darker shade, try out first an unusual color. So, don't go for the brown or something, but try a cobalt blue. Cobalt blue, when mixed with orange, will give us a brown shade. So, I'm going to take this cobalt blue and maybe even a little bit of ultramarine and maybe even a little bit of burnt umber to create a very dramatic wash here. Now this is a wash in that it is not a very deep color and not too much detail, but it is not as free as we made the first wash. So in this case now we can start from on the right hand side, it's going to be the lightest. So you can start off with a little bit of, this is the sequence we will take it in. You can start off with this orange and scarlet mix. We're going to keep it a little thicker than before. Then move to burnt umber as well as blue as you come towards the left. Now, if you're not sure about this, just watch me and let me goof up in case it is going to be a goof up, and you can choose to do something differently then. So I am painting the left side of the minarets and the left side of the buildings because I would like to leave a little bit on the right as a highlight. I'm using a very thin brush, a number 2 brush. Oh, too much water, but that's fine. Now remember that most of the building is going to be in a silhouette. So we're not going to have so much of highlight everywhere, but we do acknowledge that. And that can come very easily because we have to keep lifting our brush when we are painting, right? Now as I come to the bottom, I can start adding a little bit of burnt umber. Now this burnt umber is also something that I can add to the existing color. I'm leaving a little highlight there. And keep moving this to the left. Now I'll move to a fatter brush and start adding the cobalt blue. So these different colors create so much amazing drama. Back to the orange here on the lower buildings. And as I come lower, I can add more burnt umber. And cobalt blue. I'm just spreading this cobalt blue further and further into the bottom area, but I'm not making it too dark here. So do it carefully and consciously. Okay, so you'll notice how because I have left this part blank or just pulled it down with water, this is also giving us the effect of the glow that we wanted, right? So while the paint is wet, you can of course add more color so that it blends much more easily. More cobalt blue in areas like this so that it becomes more dramatic. We can put cobalt blue in all these dark sections. So you can make it while it is slightly damp but not fully wet. If there's too much water, then all of it will just spread. But you know, the thing is, if it does spread, it does not become too dark any case. So you can always make it dark again. So all the dark shades I'm making with cobalt blue, and when you see the position of the dark with the highlights I have left, you will start noticing a very intense drama, and the whole 3D will start emerging through that. When painting with watercolor, we have to enjoy the play of the color itself. Now, even at this stage, there are many parts of the building which can be dark or light. So if you look at our original image, we are reversing the shadows. You can easily put a shadow of a building on the left wall, like is seen on the right wall, and maybe a little less than that. So not a very dense color, but definitely a slightly deeper shade behind the dome, and you get the shadow of this building. These lines underneath certain structures, or those, remember those are all those horizontal lines we had made under that. So little by little you start increasing depth. You can take a whole lot of extra blue and also apply it where you see the tree line. So that you separate that from the building at the bottom. And again, now after doing all this lovely stuff, if your tree line is going to look very flat, then by all means add a little bit of another color. I've added scarlet. Then let's put some shadows underneath this section. So those shadows also, don't make them flat, make them angular like this. This should do it. Now the last part is writing the name of the place. All right, now one thing that I generally don't like is leaving a horizontal line at the base. So I will add a few lines to indicate water, just some wobbly lines, at least that. Usually my compositions have a rounded shape, so if I get a flat line somewhere, it just makes me a little uncomfortable. Now, what kind of space do we have to write the name of the place, and how large should we make it? I've often found that you might be tempted to just write it over here when there's so much space. But you need to think, are you going to write some text over here so that you can write the name of the place here, or what? Or can you write the name of the place here and then you write the text here? Something. You need to give it a thought. But in any case, what you should do is try to match a few edges. Like, don't go beyond this point. Now that we have placed this, what looks almost like a medallion here, maintain this edge just for the sake of the composition. Don't go beyond maybe 1 centimeter from the bottom. 1 centimeter, not 1 inch. This is 1 inch, this is centimeter. So we can write it like this, but I'm going to write it like this. You can write Turkey, or we can write Istanbul actually. And for that, first let's make the capital height line, and then we have a baseline, and we have enough room to write some text. You will leave a gutter space between the base of the text, the baseline, and your text. So I will be writing something here just so that I can show you how the text and picture composition should work. Leaving enough space between objects is absolutely necessary for it to look good, and for also readability, and also for us to appreciate. Now, between the title and the text block, I have a certain width of the block. I have to make sure that there is some kind of alignment. If I were to align it to the right of the medallion, does it look good? Or I can always stretch it a little bit to the right. That's fine. But I have to pay attention to what's happening here. I can't have my letters come too close to the building also. So I have to stay away like this. And then maybe I can make a text wrap around this so that my text will come only in this much space. I could reduce it like this, and then I won't have to do that. Now the color for writing. You can use the same colors, or you can use colors which are complementing each other. Normally I just stick to a red. I love scarlet, so I'll just stick to that scarlet. But in this case, I want to try something different. Let's try writing with maybe a cerulean blue. You always keep a rough paper handy so you know how many words you need to write. So this has 8 letters. You have so much space, which you can divide into 4, first into half, 2 equal halves, then 2 halves again, then 2 further halves. So you generally get an idea of how much space you need for each letter. Each letter would sit within the box. But when you write the letters, you make sure that the space between the letters is maintained. The height and the thickness of the letters as well. So try painting with a brush directly. Well, not directly, we've already written this in pencil. So in your set of brushes, you will find one brush with which you can do this. You will be able to make a line of a certain width very easily, and that width will also turn very easily. So if you find a brush like that, keep that for lettering. It is always useful to have a brush which has a natural horizontal alignment, so that you can make this thin line much easier. Okay, and I'm just going to put a little bit of paint for the water. Now my eye, and this is not working, so I will add a little water here. Not so much to the right, but just over here. Small strokes, large strokes. Yeah, that should be good enough. All right, so that's our page 1. I have shared with you 1 or 2 links. I'm going to share a second link on the history of Hagia Sophia. Watch that, and then try to write a short excerpt of what you have heard in that film. Just to practice distilling the information that maybe a guide will tell you into just enough to write in a small space like that. Or even that is practice, by the way. If you're not used to writing, you will end up making notes like you're going to give an exam. You don't need to. You have to know maybe 4 things: how old the building was, who built it, something significant about the building, like does it have stained glass windows, or does it have maybe a certain roof structure. So any 4 points of data are usually enough for a travel journal. It is not a thesis on a building. Okay. All right, that's it then. Any questions?
Aditi, I think, managed to salvage it a little bit. So just put some water where I needed shadows.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it did it.
Nice, it's looking good. So you've kept the building blank and made a silhouette around it. So that looks nice also. That lifts the building up. And that's a nice technique where you don't want to really paint too much, but you still want to focus on the building. Just paint the background. Nice. Let's see Shreya's. Wow, that is lovely. Very nice.
Don't look at this. I think once you do the portrait class for children, I'll probably start from there.
No, this is good. What are you saying? This is very good. Let's see. Wow, wonderful. Doesn't this look so much like a, yeah, let's see. It almost looks like a postcard, no? Very nice. Very nice. I love how the colors are just dancing in that building. Beautiful. Very nice. Let's see, size. Excellent. Very nice. So cute. Very good.
I think the lettering I need to work on a little more.
Yeah, spellings also.
Did I miss it? Oh no, I didn't realize.
Don't do anything to that now.
No, I'll stick to it.
Don't try to add. Yeah, you can make another one and put it, but
Oh
don't try to
God.
fiddle
In
it.
order to fit it in that place, I think I conveniently missed
Yeah,
out
yeah,
the
A
A.
tough and A. But that's a good sign. That means you were focusing more on the lettering than on the spelling. It's always good when you have spelling mistakes when you're doing decorative lettering. That's a good sign. Okay, so I'll share these pictures. If there's something else that you would like, you can share pictures on the group. Otherwise, I was thinking we could do, we still have to do one more element of Turkey. So, no more architecture. We could probably do food, artifacts, maybe if there are some activities or some national bird, animal. That's what I do with the kids' travel class usually. And sometimes there are really exotic animals or birds of a particular location. Like if we do a Papua New Guinea or something, it's all about birds. So it's silly not making birds when you're traveling there. So if you think of something, share it. People who've traveled there, I'm sure you will have some experiences that'll make it even more interesting.
Aditi, one thing, if we go to a place which doesn't really have too much architecture, it's mostly outdoorsy. For example, if you go to New Zealand or something, maybe if you could talk a little bit about how to go to such places, which is just kind of, if you go on a hiking trail or something like that, and how to go about.
So, yeah, for hiking trails, or mostly if it's outdoorsy, um, I usually like to collect and draw plants. So I'll do botanicals. I'd like maps. So sometimes you get an idea of where you are traveling through. And in maps also you can show interesting stuff. Like New Zealand will have a completely different longitude, latitude. So instead of marking points of as places, you can just mark them in numbers of where you have walked. Then, of course, there can be animals, there can be certain vistas which you can paint, which would basically just be some mountain, water, no architecture. So, those can be made like thumbnails. I'll show you those. So, a thumbnail is a small illustration of something that doesn't have too much detail. You want to document it, but you don't, there isn't too much to document in that. Okay, something like, where is it gone? Yeah, so something like this. This was just dawn from where we were staying in Goa. This is a chapel that we could see across the pond, across the creek. So I just made something like that. And you can always make a picture like this and then write about it a lot, or you can just make a series of these vistas or thumbnail pictures of the vistas that you have on the trail. You can do it right away also, because the thumbnail painting, as you can see, is just maybe 1 inch by 2 inch. So before you go, you can make these rectangles, frames, and then if you're carrying a small watercolor kit, just stand there, uh, create like a little viewfinder with your fingers, and picture that, and just paint it. Don't even bother drawing it. And this is something that you can make even when you're catching your breath while you're trekking. Okay, anything else?
Oh, that was good. Thank you.
Okay, so now to carry stuff, what to carry, I'm going to give you an idea of what I should carry, but I don't. But at least I'll tell you. I tend to load myself with lots of things, thinking that wherever I go, I'm going to be doing color pencil work and then this cutting, pasting. But it's been years now I'm doing travel sketching, and I know that that never happens when you're on the road. So this is the bare minimum that you should carry. And I've done this also, experimented, it works really well. So I make these travel kits. I'll show you the one that we made for Jaipur. Carry a few pens, of course, a pencil. Carry a clutch pencil also along with you, because sometimes if this breaks and you don't have a sharpener handy, it's a very painful thing. Then you have your brushes. I carry a scale because sometimes it just helps to measure out stuff. One calligraphy or two calligraphy pens, then a micron pen, then my watercolor kit, Fevicol, a cutter. Now, if you're going to carry a cutter, please put this in. If you're traveling by air, don't put it in your carry case. Keep it in your check-in luggage for sure. So make sure. I have lost a lot of cutters like that at security check. Then you have a journal. So get an A5 journal, which also can fit in this. Look for a travel-friendly water container, which can be collapsible, so that takes up very little space. And a rag. If you're fond of a fountain pen, carry a fountain pen because it's great for drawing. But if you're not, then you can, even a micron pen will do. I just hate that they're all disposable. And of course, one flexible eraser. I do also carry a blue colored pencil, and maybe I can show you how to do that. We illustrate with a blue colored pencil, and that's it. You really don't need anything else. Okay, so this time when we do the France retreat, we are going to carry only so much stuff, so that we can, if need be, we can walk across France and not feel tired because of all the burden we are carrying. Okay, that's good enough.
That's helpful. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I will see you again next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.